Local Republican activists aren't merely licking their wounds, they're spoiling for the next fight. The Rooftop Republicans is a group of MAGA faithful who meet weekly at a Mexican restaurant in College Station, Texas.
The focus of this group is to concentrate on working from the school board up to the presidency and bringing true conservatism to bear.
We're hardcore conservatives.
Both coasts look at us as a bunch of backwoods cretin, and we're not. He's a retired judge. I've got a PhD. There's various other people around here who are educated, intelligent, been a lot of places, done a lot of things, and we're tired of being laughed at. You look at the stuff that comes out of Hollywood, and you don't see a central white family or even a minor mixed family. There's 3 queers, 2 lesbians, 13 Martians, and a bunch of...
I missed this film, but I'm sure it's on Netflix.
That's the central idea of who we are.
So you feel condescended to by the media and just by the culture in general?
For years, decades.
Let me do a little experiment here. Give me a sentence. How you feel the media views you.
They think we can't think for ourselves and we need to be told what to do.
They're laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah.
Making money off of being condescending to you.
We're the competition, and they have to shut us down through any means possible to promote their agenda.
What is their agenda, do you think?
Communism.
I want to just be specific on that. Not liberalism, not social democracy.
Equating liberalism with progressivism. Progressivism is just another word for communism, and that's what's taken over that part of the world.
Like liberalism in the sense of like Kennedy-style liberalism versus Swedish-style social democracy versus Soviet-style communism. I mean,
The manifesto with what they're doing, it's the same.
The Communist Manifesto.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Is that a pretty uniform view here?
Yeah.
One of their tactics is divide and conquer. And Marxists, they use language, they use race, they use economics, they use anything that they can find that puts a drive away between us.
My son is leaning towards liberal.
How old is he?
26. And when he and I talk about issues and really dive down into them, we agree on almost everything.
You do?
The concern about the elitists versus the people.
You see the enemy as the same thing. What is it that politically divides you and your son?
I think that he's listening more to mainstream media, believing the narrative that we are racist. You know, you were talking about Bernie Sanders, we're talking about unions, we're talking about Trump, you know, what is it about him? And it all boils down to we the people. They don't want to be dismissed, and they want a say-so in what's going on.
On the union issue, by the way, that's I think one issue where I've seen Republicans kind of move a little bit. I mean, the other day, Marco Rubio coming out pretty strongly against Amazon. You would never, ever, in 40 years of watching this stuff, see a Republican come out strongly in favor of a brand new union forming against a company like Amazon.
I think it's more about justice. He wants to push that crap on the rest of us, but he doesn't want it in his company.
Jeff Bezos has politics. Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. And Marco Rubio is putting the idea about the media and about the elites above a probably typical disdain or distrust of unions.
At least the stories I've read from the people in those Amazon warehouses, it's like working in a Ford factory in 1910. They beat the hell out of you, tied to the machine, and said you're going to drop dead on the spot. That's what's happening. And that's what they're supporting is the people going back against management, saying this thing's out of control, we got to get it back to where we can live here.
People used to paint Republicans as the parties of the elite, of the wealthy, of the country club class, the Bushes. Now, Republicans using the language of the working class, of unions and the purpose of them.
Republicans are not. Donald Trump is.
Donald Trump is. Donald Trump, I say Republicans say he is the head of the Republican Party right now, right? You sound pretty left-wing sometimes, right? But if you went back to sort of 2000, when there was the anti-WTO protests in '99 in Seattle, it's a kind of a populist thing that overlaps between left and right.
Well, that's why this isn't about Democrat or Republican or anything like that. It's about the people versus the elites.
Do Republicans care about spending anymore? A $1.9 trillion spending bill, the biggest in American history adjusted for inflation? Does it bother you guys? I mean, that's kind of to a degree. I finally hear a little bit of dissent here.
Yeah. Well, I would say dissent. He spends money freely, and I'm okay with that, on the things that matter. So defense spending, infrastructure, border control, border security, and getting rid of the things that are sucking sounds.
So that's what animates you now: smaller government, less spending, lower taxes. Do you think that there's a likelihood of getting a sort of across-the-board kind of Trump, Congress of Republicans?
Yes.
So this is just the beginning of the battle to you
Correct.
guys.
Absolutely. Correct.
Who are the elites that need to be knocked off?
Mitch McConnell. Schumer.
Somebody finally named a Democrat. Schumer. Those are all Republicans.
Anyone who's been up there for more than 10 years is corrupt.
Sometimes you've got to draw that line in the sand. The Republican League had never drawn that line.
No.
We keep going over, the Democrats keep pulling left. Now's the time that we have, people need to stand up for our Constitution. We're losing our rights.
So you don't see any room for compromise in the
Not anymore. We have got to stand up. We have
This group
compromised
is
today.
about no compromise politics.
It's an unsurprising sentiment. Since leaving office, Donald Trump has unloaded on fellow Republicans, like Mitch McConnell and Liz Cheney, with a frequency and ferocity he typically reserves for Democrats. But as the battle for the soul of the Republican Party rages, the Biden administration has laid the groundwork for a sweeping progressive policy agenda, leading some Republicans to wonder if the party can stop squabbling long enough to effectively oppose it. After a few weeks residing in the alternate MAGA universe, I returned to the political reality of Washington, D.C., where Democrats are united and Republicans rudderless. I wanted to talk to one of Congress's most prominent anti-Trump conservatives, Illinois Congressman Adam Kinzinger, who was one of only 10 Republicans to support Trump's second impeachment. You have a long history here with the party. How is it that you're the fake Republican now? What is it that, did you expect this to happen, where you say, oh, this is an aberration. It's going to be Trump, and then he's going to be gone. It doesn't seem to be going away.
It's still relatively early. We're 3 months. I think you're going to have to look in the mirror of, a 1 or 2 years past to see where it goes. But yeah, the ultimate joke is that somehow I'm a rhino. Now you have folks that, used to be huge on free trade. Now they love China tariffs. All of a sudden, now they're against being in Afghanistan. They were for it. And everything now is not based on anything of principle. It's all based on a culture war, and it's all based on what does Donald Trump say, or whoever he bestows his love upon. What do they say? And then that's what a Republican. That shifts every friggin' day.
What was it about Donald Trump that made people line up behind him, and not only line up behind him because it's a party fealty? They said, we're going to bet on our principles for this guy.
So I think it's the desire to be around power, and then the complete brokenness of Donald Trump in terms of his ability to be like a normal man and, demand 100% loyalty.
It's a sort of mafia thing, isn't it?
It is. It's like you fear. You sit around like, oh man, if I do something, he's going to tweet up until recently, or he's going to turn against me. And he does bring a lot of power with him. The reality, 74 million people voted for Donald Trump. But they were outnumbered. They weren't disenfranchised.
How does that make you feel when you know that 75 million people voted for the man who you believe to be the cancer on the Republican Party?
Up until Election Day, even some Republicans maybe were like, well, I don't like the way he talks, but I'm going to vote based on policy. Totally get it. But where I break ranks, particularly, and where I'm still very confused, is after Election Day on. So after Election Day, this idea of a stolen election, it's just not true. And I will tell you, I talked to so many people that say, no, it was stolen. And I can throw the facts out there that I want, and they just refuse to believe it. Why? Probably because it's more comfortable than not. You're picking a side now. And then, of course, the insurrection. I had somebody recently tell me in my district that it couldn't have been Republicans that did that because Republicans don't